Stick a bunny in me pocket. I'll fetch the suitcase from the van.
Hello and welcome to this TV/movie review with me, Actor Thomas. First of all, I would just like to say that I hope you all had a very nice Christmas and Happy New Year, and that you are all very nicely rested and relaxed, and the start of your new year has been good for you. But back to today's video. Now today's video is a TV review of an episode of Only Fools and Horses called Homesick. So, enjoy. So, this episode starts off with Del and Rodney and Grandad in the flat. Now, Grandad is lying down because he's feeling a little bit unwell, and Rodney is preparing notes for a meeting that is of the tenants of the housing association that they live within. And Del is getting ready to go out on a date with a waitress. Now, Rodney goes to this meeting, and there is the chairperson of the committee, a man called Baz, and Trigger sitting in the audience. Rodney finally decides to ask Trigger why does he call him Dave, and Trigger is like, well, I was always told that was your name. Del told me that was your name, but my name isn't Dave, it's always been Rodney, I was born Rodney, so why do you think I was called Dave? And Trigger's like, oh well, I'll start calling you Rodney then, just to automatically start saying his name's Dave again. They're just waiting because there's only 3 people there, and Baz finally says they can't start a meeting without the deputy chair in attendance. Trigger puts Rodney's name up for election. Baz accepts and finally says, so when Rodney goes up and sits beside Baz, Baz offers his resignation as chairperson of the committee, and him and Trigger go off and leave. So, after the meeting has finished, Rodney goes and finds Del, who's selling down the market, and there, he tells him about what's happened, and now he's the chairperson of the housing, the Tenants Association. So Del's like, oh well, that might be very helpful to think that we could maybe move down to the ground floor flat instead of being up on the 12th floor, which they are at present. At this point, Grandad comes walking in, heavy laden with the shopping. He's still complaining about his legs being very sore, and he's really struggling. So Rodney is like, oh well, look, I'm going back to the flat, do you want me to give you a lift? And Grandad's like, no, I'll walk it off. It's not until later on, when Del and Rodney are heading home, that they see Grandad collapsed, and they quickly get him back up to the flat, into bed, and they call their GP, Dr. Becker. Dr. Becker arrives, and after a little bit of talking with Grandad and seeing what the state of the block of flats is like, he says that Grandad is suffering from exhaustion. After walking up 12 flights of stairs, it must take the toll on the old man. So Del and Rodney start thinking that maybe Del particularly starts thinking maybe it would be a good idea if Rodney tries to get them either down to the ground floor or move out of the estate altogether and see if they can find some of those council bungalows, which are very nice. So, after a little bit more of persuading from Del, Rodney finally decides to go and have a word with the housing officer, who would be the person that would decide if they believe the Trotters are worthy of a transfer to these council bungalows. Grandad is slowly getting worse by being in bed, and apparently his legs are hurting him even more. He's just lying there, and so the housing officer arrives, and they have a meeting, and she talks to Grandad, she talks to Dell, she talks to Rodney, and then she says she's made a decision. She can't say officially, but it's looking very much like that they are going to be moved. So Rodney walks out of the flat, down the corridor to a flight of stairs, to when they soon discover that she's left her coat, or something left. She's left something in the flat, so they have to go back to where her and Rodney walk in and see Grandad and Dell dancing up and down, all excited that they're finally leaving the 12th floor of Nelson Mandela's house. This, of course, is not brilliant. Rodney is as shocked as she is, because he believed that his grandfather was ill. Obviously he wasn't. It was all a ploy to try and get them moved into a nice bungalow, and it backfires dramatically, because the housing officer tells them firmly that their request there's no chance of them ever moving. So, but Dell, being as cheeky as ever, who had a bit of a flirt with the housing officer before, asked if the option of going out for a drink is still on the table, to which the episode ends. Thank you very much for watching this episode of me reviewing Only Fools and Horses, Homesick. I'm going to give this episode a rating of, I'm going to say actually number 3. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, you are able to subscribe or leave a like, leave a comment down below if you like, or you can become one of my patrons with the link down below. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.